Hello, boys and girls. Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at theme, and my hope is that it's review for you at this point. I know last year we talked about theme in my class, and if you had some of the other freshman English teachers at Hayden, you should have talked a little bit about theme there as well. And so, again, my hope is that today is review, but I think I'm going to be introducing you to a few new terms regarding theme. The expectation is a few things, okay? So right now, what you need to be able to do is watch me work through this PowerPoint. You need to be watching and listening intently. So make sure your phones and devices are away. Make sure you're not distracted. I will save this video and upload it for you if you're absent or something like that. But my expectation is that right now you're paying attention for the next 10 minutes or so. Once we are done with this PowerPoint, you're going to have a list of questions, right? That's basically reviewing the information that we talked about in this PowerPoint. So you're going to watch this, and then afterwards you'll see some questions that you're going to be required to answer. All the answers will be from the PowerPoint. So let's get started. There are two goals today, guys. There's two goals and two things that by watching this PowerPoint and engaging with me and answering those questions, you are going to be able to do two of these things today. So number one, you're going to be able to understand the difference between theme, thematic idea, and then thematic statement. They're all closely related, but they are different. And it's important as we talk about theme, moving forward into the novel we're going to read, that we identify these three terms and that we know the difference between these three terms. These are the three terms that when we're talking about theme, I'm going to be using. So theme, thematic idea, thematic statement. I will be using those terms moving forward as we talk about theme. Okay. Now, also another goal is that you are going to be able to create a thematic statement. So you're going to know what those words mean, and then you're going to go and create a thematic statement. So what is theme? This is one of your major questions when we're done the PowerPoint that you'll have to ask, right? What is theme? Theme is the life lesson. It's the moral, the meaning, or the message about life or about human nature that is communicated in a literary work. Okay? That sounds really long and messy, but to keep it short, theme is the author's overall message. This is very important. Theme is never, ever one word. Okay? It must be expressed in a complete sentence. So if we're watching The Lion King, which is a very famous Disney movie, we can't say the theme of Lion King is friendship. Or you can't say the theme of Lion King is war, right? Or fighting, right? Those might be topics that The Lion King is about. It might be about family. It might be about destiny, right? It might be about even fatherhood, right? But that's not the theme. That is a topic. So that's really, really important, right? So number two, it can never, ever be expressed in one single word. So where can a theme be found? Themes are found in literary works. So themes are found in literary works. Now, what is a literary work? I have a very big definition of what I consider a literary work. A literary work is almost anything, guys. So some examples would be books, movies, poems, essays, articles, short stories, Netflix episodes, Hulu episodes. I forgot to put songs on there. There's always a theme or a message in songs. Right? So anything that you can really engage with as the reader or like someone who's watching, there's got to be a message in there, right? So anything that really you're either reading or you're watching or you're listening to has a theme or should have a theme, and that's where they can be found. Now, every year it feels like, right, that you're learning about theme in English class. I'm sure it felt like that freshman year. I know we're doing it again this year. Obviously, you're going to talk about it in junior year, and you're definitely going to talk about it in senior year, right? So why is theme so important? Theme is what makes reading or viewing something enjoyable, right? And I know some of us, sometimes I do it too. Sometimes I'm just watching something or I'm reading something and I'm not really like analyzing it. I'm just watching it or reading it because it's fun, because it makes me like lets me just chill out. But there's always a theme there, and so anytime you see something or you watch something, the author is trying to convey something to you, right? The author is trying to tell you something. Now, whether you take the time to actually figure out what that message or what that theme is, that's up to you, right? But anytime you're engaging with something, there is an author or a writer or a speaker or a musician that's trying to give you some sort of message. So that's why it's important, because the message is always there, whether you choose to find it or not. And like I just said, it reveals the author's message, right? Everything that we engage with has a message. What you do with that is up to you. That's why it's important. Now, we're talking about our other key terms. So hopefully you have an idea, or you reviewed what a theme is, excuse me. Now we're moving on to this idea of a thematic idea. And here's what that is. A thematic idea is an important topic or idea that is driving the author's message. And that's a very kind of fancy definition, but what I want you to start considering and start thinking about is that thematic ideas are just one word. Usually they're one word, and they can be one word. Sometimes they're a little, maybe 2, 3 words, but usually thematic ideas are one word. And I want you to think of thematic ideas as topics, right? So I'm going to use my Lion King example again, because I think a lot of us have seen the Lion King, right? So if I were to say, what is the Lion King about? With one word, well, how would you respond? Some people might say it's about death, right? Some people might say it's about obstacles, or it's about revenge, or it's about friendship, right? Those are thematic ideas. Those aren't the theme, but those are thematic ideas, right? So here's some more examples. What I also wanted to mention was that there are many, as I just mentioned in my example with The Lion King, there are many thematic ideas or topics in a literary work. There's never just one, right? So the book, the story, the poem, the song, it's never just about one thing, right? There's always other topics or thematic ideas in there. Examples: love, friendship, success, happiness, courage. These are just some examples of what a thematic idea could be. Doesn't mean they're the only example. So it's your job, as we're reading something or as you're watching something, to start thinking about, okay, what's going on here? What's this about? And we're going to practice that. You're going to have 2 opportunities today to practice finding thematic ideas, and then hopefully turning those into thematic statements. All right, finally, we reached our last key term, thematic statement. And this is kind of the big one, guys. And so what I'm asking you, hey, let's start thinking about a theme in this story. Let's start thinking about a theme of this poem, right? I want you to start thinking about, okay, he's really asking me, Mr. Arenas is really asking me for a thematic statement. So when I say, what's the theme? Your end goal is to be able to create one of these, a thematic statement. And so here's what it is, okay? Thematic statement is the author's overall message expressed in a grammatically complete sentence. So what I want you to see here is that this definition of thematic statement is very similar, right, to theme. It's almost the same thing. But the reason we're calling this a thematic statement is because it's reminding me and it's reminding you that the theme is not one word. It's reminding you that the theme must be expressed in one complete sentence. So that's why we're calling this a thematic statement. So how do we get to a thematic statement? There is kind of a process, right? And so here's really how I visualize this in my head. And I'd like you to start thinking about thematic statements this way as well, how to get to a thematic statement. So what we do is we come up with our thematic ideas, right? When we're reading something, we're coming up with, okay, what is this about? What are some topics? What are some thematic ideas here? So maybe you make a list of topics, okay? And then you pick a topic. And then you start to ask yourself, okay, well, what is the author trying to tell us about friendship in The Lion King? What is the author trying to tell us about death in The Lion King, right? And so when we put those things together and we create one sentence, when we figure out that message, well, then we have a thematic statement. Right? And so that's a little bit of the process of how we would do that. We are going to practice together right now, and then we're going to practice as a class. So I'm going to show you my process here in a second. I'm going to read you a very, very short, just like a paragraph little scene, and together we're going to try to find the theme or the thematic statement. Okay, so as I read to you guys, I want you to obviously pay very close attention. For one thing that I do know is that I'm going to ask you to start thinking about themes and thematic ideas and then developing a thematic statement, you have to be engaged in the reading. There is absolutely no way that you can come up with a thematic statement or even start to think about theme if you're not paying attention to what I'm reading or what you're reading. So the reason we started reviewing inferences last week and even into this week is because we're trying to get to theme, right? So what I want you to do as I'm reading is pay very close attention and maybe even pause a little bit and process a little bit on your own, right? So what's happening, who's in this scene, what's this person doing? Those things are important. You have to know what's going on if we even want to talk about theme. All right, so pay very close attention as I read this short little scene to you. Jenny hated reading class. She didn't understand point of view or figurative language, and not knowing how to do the work frustrated her. She asked her teacher for help, but he spoke so fast and used such big words that she still couldn't understand. The teacher asked if she understood, and she nodded her head, but she didn't. I'd pause there for a second and make sure you know what's going on. Pause the video. Jenny's friend Kate knew that Jenny was having trouble, and rather than just giving her all of the answers, Katie explained to Jenny how to solve the problems. Katie spoke clearly and at Jenny's level, and Jenny was happy that she finally learned how to do the work. Later in the week, Katie was having trouble in math class. She didn't understand coordinates and was really frustrated. Seeing that Katie was having problems, Jenny, who understood math very well, taught Katie coordinates. Both girls made honor roll that quarter. All right, guys, so hopefully you can still hear me. You probably don't see my face at this point, but now that we've read this story about Jenny and Katie, we're going to work together, and I'm going to show you a process for trying to develop a theme statement, or excuse me, a thematic statement. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to brainstorm together, right? Or I'm going to show you what are some thematic, and I'm sorry I'm writing on this if it's terrible. What are some thematic ideas? What are some thematic ideas? So in other words, what is this about, right? What's this about? It's about two girls, right? We'll say two girls. They are friends. It's about friends. It's about schoolwork, right? I would say that it's about not understanding, or even you could say learning. What else is it about? I would say teamwork, right? Because in the end, both of these girls end up working together. I can also say it's about communication. Sorry. Anything else that we could think of, you could probably add some more to it, but I think that's a pretty solid list for now. So step one was we came up with some thematic ideas. Remember, we think of thematic ideas as topics, right? You ask yourself, what is this story about? What is happening in this story? Okay, so we'll stop there. We're going to take one of these ideas now. If you remember our formula, we're going to take one of these ideas and we'll just say we take teamwork that we're going to work with, and we're going to try to turn that into a thematic statement. All right, guys, so we're going to keep on going. And so from the previous slide, you know that we said we were going to work with the idea of teamwork. Hopefully this is a little better. Okay, that's our thematic idea. So now what we're trying to think about, we have to ask ourselves, okay, if we're going to talk about teamwork in our thematic statement, well, we have to find out what is the author saying about teamwork. What is the author's message about teamwork? What does the author want us to realize from reading this short scene about teamwork? So I'll give you a second to think, and then I'm going to show you how I want to do this. Okay, so for now, guys, this is how I want your thematic statements to start. The author's overall message, you could also say the author's overall theme, and then you would just finish the sentence, right? So I know that by reading the story, the author is talking about teamwork. These two girls work together, right? One girl is confused in reading in her English class, and her friend helps her, and then she understands. Later in the story, the other girl, Katie, has a little bit of an issue in math class, and so now it's Jenny's turn, it's her friend's turn to help her with math. So one friend helped with English, and the other friend helped with math. We know at the end of the story, does it work out for both of them? Yeah, it does, right? It works out for both of them because they both end up being on the honor roll that quarter. So the story says. So what I think the author is telling me about teamwork is, watch me write. The author's overall message / theme is that people achieve more through teamwork. And that's not bad. And so what I want you to see here, guys, is that this is definitely not one word. In that story, right, we didn't just say, yeah, the theme's teamwork, Mr. Arenas. Oh, the theme is communication, or the theme is, some people aren't good in school. No, that's not the theme, right? That might be a topic. That might be the thematic idea. But what I've created for you right now is a thematic statement. And if you go back in your notes and you look, you'll remember that a thematic statement is the author's overall message, but it's expressed in one grammatically complete sentence. And that's exactly what you have here. The author's overall message is that people achieve more through teamwork. You could have also changed the word order. You could have also said people achieve more by working together. That would have worked just fine. My point is this, guys. There are always multiple themes in a story. Always, right? My theme may be different from another teacher's theme. My theme might be different from your theme. Maybe you said that you wrote a theme about communication, a theme statement about communication. So my point is there are multiple themes. The tricky part is finding the right evidence to back that theme up. And so that's where we're going to pause for today. Hopefully you've learned something through this mini lesson. And so what I need you to do now is if you scroll down, right, you've watched the entire video. If you scroll down on this page in your class notebook, you should see a set of questions that you are now going to answer. This is going to be considered your notes, and in about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll come back together and we'll review what you learned in this PowerPoint.